This is Behind the Verdict. I'm John Horford with Myrene A.R. Cook and Christina Bill's daughter Horford.
What the hell?
What is that for?
It's because of the episode. We're gonna get into it. It's I know I have like a grin on my face, but it's just because I get so worked up over this issue because the argument that there's nothing we can do to change things is such bullshit. Such bullshit. So every day in America, 12 children die from gun violence and another 32 are shot or injured. Firearms are now the leading cause of death for children and teenagers. Since Columbine in 1999, almost 400,000 students have experienced gun violence at school. Today, we're going to unpack what school shootings are, where they happen most, and how what's going on in the United States compares to what happens in the rest of the world. You guys ready to jump into this?
Yes.
And I guess I'll also throw in there, what evidence says about preventing these types of shootings. I guess it depends on where you get that information from, but I think we have decently credible sources.
I think it does depend where you get the information from, but one of the things you said right from the beginning was, this needs to change, but nobody's willing to change anything. I don't know if that's entirely accurate.
Did I say that when we were recording?
Yes.
Or did I say that before?
Yeah, you just said it.
Oh, yeah, I think that all the time. What do you think is being done to help prevent these sort of occurrences from continuing to happen in the United States of America?
Well, one of the things I think is that there needs to be obviously better mental health care accessible to people than it is currently. I think other countries have a much better handle on health care than the United States does, and that includes mental health care. And I think that would help tremendously trying to figure that out, because then not only would you be able to block some people who have mental health issues that are diagnosed from red flag laws and other kinds of things, but you'd get those people maybe the help they need before they resort to something like this. And I think that's a big piece of it. It's not the only piece, and I'm not saying that it is, but I think that is a huge factor. When you look at all of the school shootings that I can think of in my lifetime, didn't most of those school shooters have some sort of mental health issue?
I would say everyone who commits a school shooting has a mental health problem.
Right, like a majority of them all had manifestos or writings or other things where they talked about their mental health struggles and the reasons why and why they had a list or why they did what they did. And I think that is a big piece of it. In the United States, and I can say this very clearly, in Michigan, there is a lack of resources for adolescent psychologists and therapists. There's a waiting list that is just insanely long. And when you put someone on a waiting list or they can't get in at all, they have to deal with those things. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not saying that is the only thing, but I do think that is a big part of what could help the situation.
I think also not even just mental health resources for the kids, but also just in general for everyone. If more, even parents of these children were maybe in therapy or more emotional, had dealt with their trauma. I think there's a lot of people that have trauma and then have kids and then don't know how to emotionally take care of children or notice the signs of their distress, or know how to help them because they don't have the resources themselves. Like, yeah. I think
they don't have the tools to deal with it, and they don't know who to turn to.
It's a quality of life issue as well. I mean, there are other factors that we can say play a part in this, like somebody consistently having access to food, to health care, which includes mental health care, or should include mental health care, to housing, to all of these things, within the hierarchy of needs. The United States, for the richest country that has ever existed, doesn't do the best job of making sure that all of its citizens are living in a respectable manner. But to address those issues, great. I'm all for addressing those issues. Should it be a priority? Absolutely. But where does the money come from? Where's the push to get this actually done without just calling it blatant socialism?
Well, I think that we have to make sure that, children are the greatest resource that any nation has, right? They are the future. I don't mean that to sound trite by any means, but that is true. Mm-hmm. And if you don't take care of the future, you're not going to have it. So I think it is one of those things where people often ask, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Do we have to fix the issue for healthcare and mental health, or do we have to look at it after the fact and try to fix it later? I think you need to fix it early on. I think you need to have preventative healthcare and mental health resources available, and they're just simply not.
Well, let's define what a school shooting is, and it's actually surprisingly hard to define. There are numerous definitions for what a school shooting actually entails. So, Education Week defines a school shooting as any incident on kindergarten through 12th grade property or during a school event where someone other than the shooter is injured or killed. And by that measure, there have been 8 such incidents in the United States.
But I think that definition should include universities, because there's been university shootings too.
So there are additional definitions. Most of our focus is on K through 12, though. So the K through 12 school shooting database created by the Naval Postgraduate School Center for Homeland Defense and Security uses a broader definition. Anytime a gun is fired, brandished, or a bullet hits school property. And this database reports more than 2,000 incidents since 1970. The National Center for Education Statistics, working with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, tracks active shooter incidents, cases where someone attempts to kill people in populated school areas. And from 2000 to 2022, they recorded 328 casualties at U.S. elementary and secondary schools. So where are school shootings most common in the United States? And it's horrible to even think about, but 60 to 65% of these incidents occur in high schools, 18% in elementary schools, and roughly 12% in middle schools. Parking lots are the most common setting, accounting for 30% of incidents, followed by entrances and hallways. And in the United States, on a per capita basis, Washington, D.C., Delaware, Louisiana, Maryland, and Tennessee lead. And then in total incidents, the largest states, which I guess it's not the biggest surprise, California, Texas, Florida have the most.
You know what's interesting you just said is that I think you said something about parking lots were the highest percentage of where those things happen.
Yeah, 30%.
I don't remember hearing about that many parking lot shootings in school shootings. I hear about them in the hallways or in the cafeteria or roaming through the halls. Do you remember any that were specifically in the parking lot?
Are these school shootings, they're not necessarily a mass shooting, though? Like, that could be a kid just shooting one other kid, or like they get in kind of altercation.
There are so many of these incidents that happen like every year in the United States that we don't, and how many of them genuinely come across our radar or become national news?
That's what I'm saying, only the mass
only a
shooting.
handful.
So maybe those 30% are just like the
one-offs.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing you said is one of those definitions included where a bullet comes towards or touches a school. I don't remember the exact word or verbiage you used. But if that's the case and there's a shooting, maybe the school is in a bad neighborhood, for example.
Yeah.
And there's a shooting outside of the school, didn't have anything to do with the school, but the bullet traveled to school property.
Yeah, it's possible.
Right? Because that's one of the definitions you gave. So I think it's hard when we look at those to decipher some of the statistics from, was it a mass shooting, like Christina said, or was it something else?
And I was just bringing that up just to show that that's where a lot of the discrepancies come in terms of, oh, well, I thought it was this many people shot or killed, or, it's because the definitions vary so much. So depending on what source people use, I feel like that's why there's ranges. The bottom line is that there have to be ways to prevent these types of things from happening. And when you look at the world as a whole, the United States is very clearly an outlier. So Canada, our neighbor to the north, they've only had one major school shooting since 96. The United Kingdom has had none since 1996, after which Parliament banned most private handguns. Australia has had no modern school shootings since the National Firearms Agreement of 1996, which included strict licensing, registration, and buybacks. Germany and Finland have had some isolated tragedies in the 2000s, but they were all followed by major reforms to firearm licensing and storage. and Japan has virtually none. School attacks there are more often carried out by knives than guns. Meanwhile, the United States has had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of school shootings since 1996.
Well, I think one of the things to point out with those statistics and those things would include, and we talked about this a little bit before we went on air, all of us, that in some of those countries, weapons are not allowed or were not allowed by parliament or by other governmental agencies. And so the fact that they didn't have them as an available weapon or an available option seems like maybe it makes it easier to keep them out of hands. Now, in the United States, part of the Constitution is the Second Amendment that allows people the right to bear arms. And so that may play into a little bit of those differences too.
Yeah, but all of the countries that we listed, they all had guns.
Depending on what the availability was, though, it may not have the same availability as the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
That's my point. So it's hard to compare apples and oranges if we don't know if they're all apples or all oranges.
Yeah, and I mean, we can't even come to an agreement on what the right to bear arms even means in the United States.
Well, I think it's really hard to look back, when the forefathers created the Constitution. I don't think they could have fathomed all of the things that can be looked at as weapons now, or how they might be used, or what they might make. I mean, you can make ghost guns with 3D printers. You can do a lot of different things that they wouldn't have had any idea when they said everyone has a right to bear arms.
Yeah.
Right, so it should have been updated since 1776.
Well, there had been updates. They're called amendments.
Amendments, yes, of course.
But the difficulty is trying to figure out, you're balancing obviously safety, which should be foremost in everybody's mind, with other options.
It should be, shouldn't it?
But you also have to look at other things. Taking away guns is not the only thing that would solve the issue.
But in these other countries, it seemed to be the thing.
It seems to be, but you don't know all the reasoning behind what they had or what they didn't have.
Those countries all also have access to healthcare for free.
It is something that goes hand in hand. It's not just one or the other. You have to have multiple ideas to fix these issues. It's not just one or the other.
Yeah. Oh, but don't worry, we're not done. We have to really focus on the human element, right? We can focus on the guns all we want. The human toll related to the gun violence epidemic in the United States, school shooting epidemics in the United States, it's staggering. So we already mentioned 12 children die every single day in the United States from gun violence, and 32 are injured. So
but those are not all in school, right?
No, they're not all in school.
Okay.
It's just guns in general. Firearms are now the leading cause of death for children and teens ages 1 through 17, surpassing car accidents and disease. As we said earlier, roughly 400,000 students have directly experienced gun violence at school since 1999. In 2022 alone, there are 46 school shootings, the most in any year since Columbine. In that year, 34 people were killed, and over 43,000 children were exposed to gunfire on school grounds. So access in the United States is obviously a very key driver. It's a point that you've mentioned. 4.6 million children live in homes where at least one firearm is kept loaded and unlocked. 68% of guns used in school shootings come from the home, a friend, or a relative. Nearly half of gun-owning parents wrongly believe their children don't know where their guns are stored. And these shootings are rarely just like random events, right? So 93% of these school shootings, the school shooter planned the attack in advance.
I want to go back to something you just said. What was the percentage where they get the guns from home? 66? They get it from home or a family member?
68.
So where are the other 32, if my math is right? Where is the other 32% of those weapons coming from? Illegally obtained?
I don't know that they're illegally obtained. Yeah, I mean,
is they're obtaining them
themselves,
right?
Potentially, if they're old enough,
or,
it could be, because this is just mentioning from the home, from a friend or a relative. So I mean, come from the home could be a gun that you had purchased,
right? But my point is, there are often weapons that are illegal that other people can get their hands on. So in those circumstances, even if you change the gun laws for the legally abiding citizens who would have weapons, you've still got the illegal weapons out on the street. You've still got the ghost guns that people can create. There's a lot of other things we need to look at too.
Yeah, but I feel like it helps.
You have police for that.
Limit the access a little bit. Like, it is harder to get an illegal gun than it is to get a legal gun. You know what I mean? So
it's not harder to get an illegal gun. I deal with it every day as a prosecutor.
It's easier to get an illegal gun than a legal gun?
People just go out and get them from random other criminals. Yeah, they do.
Where are the other criminals getting them, though? Probably legally.
Not necessarily. They're buying them illegally. They're making them. I mean, that is a huge thing right now.
Myrene's ghost guns.
So I wonder, how often are shootings happen? Like, what's the percentage of a shooting happening with an illegally obtained gun versus a legal one?
I don't know the percentage. My point, though, isn't that. My point is, even if you make gun laws harder for people to obtain guns, which I'm not saying they shouldn't be, I'm just pointing out some things, that there will still be the availability out there with illegally obtained weapons.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of the access to the mental health care.
I think there's a lot of those combinations. I do also think, quite honestly, that schools, we don't put enough money towards resources for schools as far as school resource officers that can protect the schools and the kids that are there. I think that is something that schools look at a little bit more now, but not every school district is able to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you think about some of those school shootings, if they had a fully trained person in the schools, then maybe some of those things had not happened. So I'm just saying that's a small piece. It's a very small piece, but it would be a piece that should be looked at too.
Oh, that's actually, but that's in my policies that do not work segment of the script.
And why is that? Why doesn't it work?
There are a few things, right? So one that comes up a lot is people say we should just arm teachers.
I'm not saying that.
Well, I'll get to a good guy with a gun myth thing in a second.
That's not a myth.
Just because sometimes it does, like we had talked about it when we were off air, there are incidents where it works and where it doesn't work. The one that popped into my mind for where it clearly doesn't always work is Uvalde, right? You had multiple police departments, dozens and dozens of officers. Nobody's still winning.
Do you know why they didn't go in, though? That's the question. But you didn't answer the question.
And then you have the Traverse City incident where the individual had
a knife.
Yeah, and the individual had a long history of mental health issues, long documented history of that.
Right,
but and I'm not excusing it. Yeah, and that individual, yes, and he was shot by somebody with a gun. So then people will quote a situation like that and be like, see, if we give more people guns, then they're going to jump in and stop it. But that individual also had a military background, so they were a little bit more experienced than the average individual with a gun. So
you're making my point.
Wait, really quick.
Not necessarily.
You are.
So then we put military into schools?
All I'm saying is I think that needs to be something that's looked at as far as that goes. I've dealt with a lot of schools in my tenure as a prosecutor that now have school resource officers on site. And I think that is helpful to deter that kind of behavior.
Didn't we have an officer like in high school?
Yeah, we had officers in school.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen everywhere due to money and resources.
No, yeah, I know. I was just wondering if that was like something that's already been implemented somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do in Grand
I remember
Lodge.
my dad saying, because I was in elementary school in what, 2000s, early 2000s, that Delta Center was heavily like locked during the day. Like it was when my dad was coming to pick me up.
All schools are like that right now.
Is it? But then how do these people get in so easily? How do they get in so easily? Why aren't we just locking the doors?
I mean, you can honestly just wait for somebody to walk out and then you can walk in. But usually there's two. Yeah, I mean,
well,
there was a camera too at the front door, my dad said.
Yeah, all the schools.
That should be everywhere. We got a Ring camera.
Yeah, I deal with schools all the time. Like if I didn't have, most of the schools I deal with, I have like the key card. But then there's like 2 doors that you have to swipe in, walk in, swipe in again. And then sometimes you have to go through the office and then you have to get your name tag and all that stuff. And all the doors are locked.
Mm-hmm. But are a lot of those doors glass?
Yeah.
Right. So they could shoot through it.
Yeah, for sure. Or you could just wait for the kids to come out into the parking lot. You could wait for recess.
You know, going back to ways that this can be curbed is not the right word, but eradicated, whatever word you want to throw in there. You know, it's not just one thing that'll fix it. You know, better gun laws, yes. Better mental health, absolutely. Maybe having school resource officers in school is another thing. We're looking for additional safeguards to put into place. Anything that will protect the kids, I think, is what we need to look at and focus on, not just one side of it, but let's make it multifaceted and do a lot of different angles to try to prevent it more than one way.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's saying this one thing is going to completely eradicate it, but we know that giving people access to specific types of weapons makes them much more dangerous.
And I think that is a conversation that, you know, the legislature needs to address. I think there are people out there, and I'm not one of them who has an AR, but I think people out there would say they're a collector. They're doing a lot of different things. And there's, parts of the Constitution that if you want to change that, then you have to do an amendment. Mm-hmm. You do. It has to be looked at.
Yeah, and that's fine. And if we genuinely care about kids, then something has to change. So some other things that shows that prevention is possible, right? So evidence shows that safe storage laws, states requiring firearms to be stored, locked, and unloaded leads to fewer youth firearm deaths.
I agree with that. I think the responsible gun owners need to make sure that their firearms are stored safely and cannot be accessed by other people.
Yep. Extreme risk protection orders, also called red flag laws, that allow courts to temporarily remove firearms from individuals who pose a risk. They can be difficult to navigate sometimes, but maybe that's something that we work to educate the public on.
I think the public needs to be educated on that because I think it's often actually confusing for law enforcement in those cases. One of the things I thought was weird about Michigan's law is that Joe or Jane citizen can say, hey, I think there's a concern about this person having a gun. They can go to law enforcement looks into it, and they can go to the court and change it. A prosecutor, however, is not in that list. So if I'm dealing with someone and maybe a victim says, hey, my perpetrator, the defendant who beats the crap out of me on a daily basis, has all these weapons, I myself can't do an emergency risk protection order, but that person could. But the difficulty with those laws are you have to be certain that that is going to be a risk. You have to be able to clearly enunciate why that is a risk in court because you are taking someone's liberty, right? Right now under the Constitution, that's what it is. And then what happens? Where do you store these weapons when they're taken? More often than not, they can be stored at a licensed gun dealer, but no licensed gun dealer is going to want you to store weapons there. They're not going to want to be held responsible or liable if that weapon that was great grandpa's suddenly has a scratch it didn't have before, and now they're going to be liable, so it's going to have to be stored with law enforcement. Does law enforcement have that ability size-wise? Some smaller departments probably don't have an evidence room that's big enough to store thousands of weapons or hundreds of weapons in addition to the evidence you need for all the daily cases and all the other things.
Yeah, but do you think individual departments, except in a massive city, are going to have hundreds and thousands of weapons?
Well, you're going to have a lot. You're going to have a lot more. Some of these storage rooms, quite honestly, are very small. You'd be very surprised.
Yeah. And
very little. So there needs to be resources thrown at that then to make those facilities able to handle it.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, there are individuals that, that I know we know for sure, and that Alex definitely knows, that have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 guns.
Right.
Different types.
But
different types.
The other problem with the emergency protection laws is that our society is litigious. They sue over a hot coffee that spilled on someone's lap. They sue, and I'm not making fun of that, but they sue over a lot of different things. You don't think there's going to be lawsuits the minute law enforcement tries to take somebody's weapons away.
I hope they have a good reason for it.
I hope they do too, but I'm just saying that might make law enforcement hesitant to take them because the risk is potentially higher. So again, that's why I think, we need to look at this multifaceted and find so many different things. Let's look at the other countries that have those lower rates, right? Having less access to weapons is definitely one. Having better mental health care and health care overall is another. What else are they doing differently? Let's look past just the headlines. Let's see what else they're doing.
I think just doing those two things would be a game changer.
I think it's
just
a good start,
two.
But I think we need to look further.
But even if let's start somewhere. If we started with
with
just those two things, I think America.
I think it would help
massively.
I think it would help
Massively.
See, we're not sparring as bad. It's just that it's just not it's not one thing that will solve this issue. It's multiples.
And I never said that it was one single thing that would solve this issue. But again, just those two things that you had mentioned would be an incredible starting place in the United States.
There's a lot of things, yeah.
Just those two would be massive. Even just the one, healthcare for all.
That's a good start.
It's an amazing start.
It's a good start. But I think it's not just having healthcare, it's removing the stigma for someone for asking for help. Because I think a lot of times people who have mental health issues don't want to come out and say they have it because they're going to be stigmatized.
I think that's being removed. And I think the access issue, and then making sure that we're supporting people to get into these fields, and then supporting those people when they experience the trauma of, the day in, day out.
But that's what I mean about multifaceted, not just give the resources for the mental health care, but have massive ad campaigns that also help remove the stigma. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out.
Amazing.
Yeah, I do that.
Let's do it all.
I go to therapy. I'm not super mentally ill, but it's helped me learn how to communicate better and justify my emotions and feel confident in how I feel. And
Exactly.
It's not like there's nothing, I feel like you're right. It is the stigma, because it's not like I'm not sick and fucked up because I need therapy. I just need professional, unbiased help and guidance sometimes. And
Right.
I think it's helpful for literally everyone.
I agree with you.
But expensive. And then
Absolutely.
and then the waiting lists are long.
They are, especially for
Absolutely.
adolescents. And I
Oh my
don't know
gosh.
why, if just people aren't going into that field anymore, that could be it, or people are retiring, or there's just so many more people now reaching out that the availability is incredibly hard.
I think that's
to
a big
reach.
part
I
of
think
it
that
right
is a
now.
huge part of it too, is that more people are comfortable with it and they're looking for these resources. Because I mean, like I said, I've worked in the development space with kids for 15 years, and we've tried to integrate that into one of the programs that we run, like in the Lansing area, and the wait times to get to a lot of these therapists or to get this sort of help, crazy.
Weeks,
Just
months,
like
yeah.
months, sometimes like up to like 6 months. It's like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
six to 8 months. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, this kid's going to damn near be graduated by the time that they can see somebody who's going to help them. And then from there, is it consistent? Is it inconsistent? Like, are you going to be switching like the people that they see? Are they going to be able to build a relationship and a rapport with an individual so they feel confident enough to open up? Like, yeah, there's a lot of pieces to this.
Well, and I think resources need to be thrown heavily at not just therapists, but facilities for those who may be identified that need maybe an inpatient type care, that need more than just therapy once every 2 weeks or whatever it may be. There are very, very few adolescent mental health care facilities in Michigan, and trying to find a bed at those facilities is amazingly have long waits, and it's just we're not putting the money where we need to, which is at our kids.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch on, I brought this up probably like, it feels like 20 minutes ago at this point, but just some of the policies that don't seem to have any genuine traction. So one is arming teachers. So despite being allowed in 28 states in the United States, no evidence shows that it has ever prevented, an armed teacher has ever prevented a school shooting.
Can I respond as you go through each one?
Yeah, I'd love
Okay.
that.
So I've never advocated for arming teachers, but there have been other school shootings where a trained law enforcement person or a trained school resource officer did stop the threat sooner than allowing additional casualties. And I know Uvalde in Texas is different.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason those police agencies didn't go in, but I think it was maybe Parkland in Florida, where I don't know if it was a school resource officer or first law enforcement on scene, but they were able to take out a shooter. Maybe it wasn't Parkland, but it was another school shooting, and basically limit the number of casualties.
But that's completely different. And that's a trained professional.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. So that's a trained professional. So that's something completely different, and something that we would have to invest additional funds
Exactly.
into getting an individual like that into school.
But I think it's worth it.
There are lots of things that are probably worth it if we want to invest the money into it. So if we care, we have to be pushing resources towards some of these methods. So another policy that people think works but doesn't actually work, expanding gun access. So states with looser carry laws do not see fewer school shootings like you would think that they would if that theory was true. And most actually see increases in youth firearm deaths because an increased access to guns. And then the good guy with the gun myth. So armed civilians rarely, if ever, stop school shootings, and oftentimes just make those situations more chaotic.
I was gonna
Civilians.
Say, yeah, I was going to
It's
say.
different than what I'm saying.
I know, and that's why I'm emphasizing it, because it's different than an armed, trained professional.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because if you were in public and there was like you heard a shooting and then a guy, like a good guy with a gun, was gonna try. What if someone sees him with the gun and thinks he's the shooter? So I can see in that specific scenario why that could be chaotic. And
But there have been some, not school shootings, but church shootings where a good Samaritan with a gun sitting at Sunday service did take out a shooter.
I mean, and again, we can always find instances where it's worked, here or there, but on average, It's usually not the case with a civilian.
Thank you for clarification.
I love clarifying things, Marion.
One of the things I wanted to mention too is I agree there should be stricter laws. I agree, mental health, all of those things. However, if someone really has that mindset where they want to harm other people, they can fashion pretty much almost anything into a weapon. Now, will it would be as fast and, I don't like to use the word effective, but would it be as fast and, I can't think of another word right now.
For their motive and their goal, it's the right word. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to get as much done in as little time. However, we've seen places like the Walmart in Traverse City recently where there was a stabbing. I think maybe 11 people were stabbed before that person was taken down and the knife was taken away. So I think going back to the mental health thing, that really needs to be the number one, because whether weapons are available or not, they might find something else to use. There were several school shootings, and I want to say it might have been Columbine, where they were creating pipe bombs or other types of bombs. Wasn't that Columbine?
Yeah, apparently.
The two shooters?
I don't remember, and I didn't look up any specifics, so I don't want to misquote anything.
Alex said yes. That's why I said apparently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, but they didn't go off.
Right.
We're keeping that in.
My point is, though, that they can create other types of weapons that may be as destructive if they set off a bomb in the school.
Yeah, but again, we have to look at these countries. We have to see what they've done, and not having decades and decades without school shootings. It's like we know essentially what works, but again, it's difficult in a country like the United States to get people to give up their guns. And I'm not even advocating for people to give up all of their guns, just specific types of guns, and then making sure that all of the guns that individuals do own have to be locked up.
And I think a mental health evaluation when you get a gun, like I genuinely think it's easier to buy a gun than it is to get like birth control. It has to be harder to access even a handgun.
Like if all the people who stand outside of Planned Parenthood went and stood outside of gun shops instead,
right, and
made sure that people were coming in were berated,
right?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's helpful, but
it's not. It's not. I have some additional statistics. We trust the Rockefeller Institute.
I don't know. I've never put them on a circle of trust test.
You're not a fan of the Rockefeller family?
No, I've just never looked at it, whether or not they're trustworthy or they, have a margin of error rate or anything like that.
According to these individuals at the Rockefeller Institute and their research on 318 mass public shootings between 1996 and 2017, they found that 48% were motivated by revenge, 37% by personal grievances, and only 15% by extremist ideology. 80% of perpetrators already had access to firearms. 41% obtained additional firearms specifically for the attack, averaging 2 guns per shooter. Preparations were common. 20% gathered tactical information, 10% conducted surveillance, and 2% simulated their attack. Handguns were used in 75% of cases, compared to semi-automatic rifles in 24% of cases. These attacks they're planned, they're semi-predictable, and I guess because of that, they could be preventable.
Yeah.
If there are some clear patterns.
This is just a question that popped into my head, and I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on it. Do you think media coverage of when there is a school shooting is necessarily detrimental to other people who might be experiencing mental health issues and now suddenly want to emulate or copy those people that they're seeing in the news so much? It's just a question, just randomly popped into my head.
Probably. It's probably the same for all murders, but the news is never going to stop reporting that. You know what I mean?
Right. So, I know. I'm just saying that's part of the problem, and I wish there was a way that would easily solve that. I don't know that there is.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of why you see more in the United States, and this is just a quick idea, in that because we've had some and the media covered it so dramatically a lot, right, that people pick up on that and they want to copy what that person did, or they want
that notoriety.
They want the notoriety piece to it.
But how are you not going to cover that when it's so tragic?
Cover it. Don't say the name. And any individual who goes and shoots up a school,
it would be covered.
Guillotine.
It would be covered intensely, I think, in any other country. You know what I mean? Like everywhere.
Without the name.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general.
And then there has to be a punishment that makes people afraid to commit these types of crimes.
But I think people who are experiencing mental health issues are using the internet for purposes of looking those things up and trying to see what was the reason behind this shooting or that shooting, what did that shooter say in their manifesto, that kind of stuff, maybe limiting access to some of that. I'm not saying don't report on it when it happens, right? But maybe not keep all of that crap out there for other generations to look at.
Freedom of speech.
I know, but I'm saying, you know what? It's a Second Amendment right to bear arms, too. So maybe we need to change some freedom of speech issues as well. I mean, all I'm saying is we have to look at everything. We can't leave any stone unturned. And if that is something that does add to it, then let's figure out something with that, too.
Another thing to keep in mind is, outside of the people who are directly impacted, survey by the Sandy Hook Promise and KRC Research found that 80% of parents believe the threat of school shootings has changed their kids' childhood. And nearly 40% of parents think about school shootings often, with higher anxiety among parents of color.
All right, let me ask something here. This is kind of a little bit of a generational thing because you guys are both way younger than me. So
Like a couple years.
a lot. So when I was in school, we had tornado drills. We had severe weather drills. That was pretty much the extent. We had fire drills.
And Cold War drills.
Well, I didn't have, I'm not that old. Shut up, John. But what kind of drills did you guys have? Did you have active shooter types?
Yep.
Okay. So
No,
Yes, we absolutely did.
You did?
Are you serious?
I don't remember one.
I guess you're 3 years older than me. But
Yeah, only 3 years. But we had
older. Look at that.
ancient.
Ancient.
I did the Cold War drills too.
You probably did.
Hide under the
Grandpa.
desk. Yeah.
But my point is the culture changed, right?
Yeah. But yeah, we did
they did
fire
give us-
drills, tornado drills.
they gave us horrible advice. I feel like when I was in elementary school, it was, one, there was like cards that you would put in the window. The teacher would put like a yellow or a green or a red. But then they told us all to like go in a corner. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing you can do.
Put them all in one place.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So now it's get under your desk or whatever, or I don't know.
I don't
actually
know
what
But
it
it's
is.
also now they have the door stoppers where you can't open the door. They have things that go over the glass if there's even glass in a door nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we
there's a
had that.
lot of different things.
Yeah,
But
I do not remember any of that.
Oh yeah, I remember it. It's freaky.
the reason I brought it up is because you said parents are now saying children are dealing with that kind of trauma of the what if. Because sometimes that what if is horribly scary and traumatic.
For sure.
I'm not saying it's more than the shooting itself because that is way worse. But the what if this could happen in my school probably gives a lot of kids anxiety.
I think a lot of parents are turning to homeschool lately too. I think that's becoming a lot more popular than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Probably because of partially that.
For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, the fear that people have that haven't experienced it, but according to these statistics, nearly 400,000 students in the last less than 30 years have been at a school where there was a shooting. So indirectly, even if they weren't like right there, experienced it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, and you think about those schools after the fact. Yes, they go in and sometimes they change the inside of the school, like they did with Columbine, and they like changed the rooms around so it wasn't going to be you walk into that library and you remember what happened there. But for a larger school like a university, there was the MSU shooting a few years ago, and you could walk into any of those buildings. Yes, you're not going to see the what happened there, but the stigma, I think, attaches to it, and that gives people just so much anxiety, which then brings us back to what? Better mental health care for help those students deal with that kind of stuff.
But at the end of the day, also limiting access to specific types of guns is going to make a massive difference, lowering the amount of potential casualties, full stop. And other countries have
Yeah, if there was no
basically
guns, there
stops.
would be no shootings.
Yeah, but I'm not even saying
I know
no
that's-
guns, even though it's handguns that are being used 75% of the time, according to these statistics. So, I mean, it's usually a handgun, and those aren't the type we're saying let people keep their handguns, essentially, and just get rid of semi-automatic weapons.
Let's start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
But I think you have to look at how they got access to those 75%, and let's figure that piece out too.
Yeah.
A lot of questions that we didn't expect to answer today. This is for our friends in the legislature to resolve, which it's going to be a fight. It's very difficult to resolve, but I think a great place to start, to your point, Myrene, is increasing healthcare access. Everyone should have access to healthcare and shouldn't have to worry about going into debt for seeking that type of care. In addition to that, I mean, it's all connected. Why is dental separate? And then, people, they have issues getting food access. There's a bunch of different things across the board. Housing insecurity issues in the United States. If we can just address these quality of life issues in the United States, it improves everyone's standard of living. If we can improve people's standard of living, you're less likely to fall into these mental health type ruts, even though sometimes, it's not even related to anything but a genuine mental issue. But I think it makes a massive difference.
Well, I think you need to look at some of those other countries that have better healthcare systems and look at how they do it. It's not like it's rocket science. If other countries are doing it better healthcare and maybe they're not as wealthy or prosperous as the United States, then why can't the U.S. do it too?
It's great.
Say it again.
Agreed.
It's great. I have to be careful.
The NRA.
No, I'm not even the NRA.
That's...
I don't even want to say who it is. It's greed. It's greed. I've had these conversations with individuals at these various places.
But we need to change that mindset because that's not a way to look toward the future. That's looking only toward yourself and what you're amassing.
Yeah, and people wonder why. It's not going down yet, but whatever the statistic is, I'm going to misquote it. Somebody correct me. But in the next 20 years, the birth rates are going to start declining 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know. Start declining in the United States. I don't think that it quite is yet. I'll look it up real quick and then delete this. But you wonder why people don't want to have kids or are hesitant to have kids. We have school shooting issues. We have access to healthcare issues.
Quality of life
issues. People are going to college and graduating, and they're told that getting this degree was going to put them in a position to live a very comfortable life. They're not able to do that. And people are, the American dream isn't necessarily what it used to be. In a state like Michigan where, our parents or grandparents could go to college
in the auto industry.
Yeah, or go to college and work a job, go to college, pay it all off.
Yeah.
You could work at the auto plant. You could have your house, have your little cabin up north, go fishing, have a car, feed your family, send your kids to school, all of that. You can't do that anymore with just a regular job.
Well, and that goes hand in hand with why are things so damn expensive, like college tuition? Why does it cost that much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that word you said a few minutes ago? Greed.
So according to this CBS article from a month and a half ago, the fertility rate in the U.S. dropped to an all-time low in 2024 with fewer than 1.6 children being born per woman per federal data released. The U.S. was once among only a few developed countries with a rate that ensured each generation had enough children to replace itself, which is 2.1 kids per woman, but it has been sliding in America for close to 2 decades, and women are waiting longer to have children or never taking that step at all. So this new statistic is on par with fertility rates of women in Western Europe, and it's an alarming drop, and we're going to have issues in the United States very, very shortly related to this.
What kind of issue?
Eventually, the population is going to start going down. Even think of something like funding people's Social Security. Social Security is paid for by the next generation.
Right. And if you have a smaller generation, you're going to have less money going into it.
Yes, exactly. And I know that even this generation that's starting to get Social Security thought that their generation, they didn't bank on it. I actually just had this conversation with my aunt and uncle 2 weeks ago. They didn't bank on it, but they're receiving it. This generation is receiving it. Our generation, I don't know. Maybe we're saying that we won't, but we will. But the fertility rate is a lot lower. In the 60s, it was around 3.5 per woman. Yeah. But when the baby boom ended, it was down to 1.7. It rose to 2.1 in 2007. And aside from a 2014 uptick, the rate in 2013 was 1.62. And in 2024, it has inched down to 1.599, according to the CDC.
Wow.
So
I guess I'm an overachiever. I had 4.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody's got to. We're not.
Yeah, we have none. My mom had 4 too. So Liz out there doing her part. Good Catholic woman. Not good enough. She needs 3 times more to be a good Catholic.
Oh my God.
Hey.
They need 10 or 12.
I don't even think your mom's not even Catholic. Did you grow up Catholic?
Yes.
She did grow up Catholic?
Irish Catholic.
Oh.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. My grandma's family is very, very Irish.
I knew they were Irish, but...
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways, back to our topic.
Well, it all relates because people are having less kids just because if things are going really well, people would have more kids. If people felt more secure, people would have more kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scary world.
To bring it back full circle,
Yeah.
School shootings,
Yeah.
healthcare issues, job issues. There are a ton of things that are keeping people from having more kids.
Yep. Yeah.
What's keeping you from having kids? If you have any questions, no. Yeah? No?
I don't have anything else to add.
Do you want to add anything else?
No, but I just think we need to circle back to, we need to make sure that our children are the number one priority, their safety, their education, their health care, all of the things, because they're going to be the future. And if, you're afraid of the future right now, you're not going to have children, which means what?
No future.
Exactly. So we need to put the money forward for that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does.
But it's more than Congress. We
State
have state legislatures.
Yep.
Yeah, or assemblies, just depending on like where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot can be done to prioritize the well-being of children, and a lot has been done and is done.
But we
Not
can't
to
give up
discredit.
just because you do a little bit.
Yes.
You can't just stop. You have to keep going.
It's never ending.
Right.
It's never ending. So
Because unfortunately, crime never ends. And you think you eradicate one form of it and something else happens. So you have to continually evolve with whatever it is. And I think resources need to continually evolve too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, this is completely unrelated, but when you said crime never ends, I thought about the eradication of specific diseases through immunizations. I'm like, a lot of those diseases did end, and they're starting to come back
Because
people aren't getting vaccinated.
that's a whole nother episode.
It's a whole nother episode, but that's another reason why people don't want to have kids, because they don't want to live in a world where people are getting freaking TB and typhoid,
Measles.
fever and measles. And it's like, dude, people used to die of this all the time. Like, just get jabbed. It's like, but I saw this YouTube video, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
come on. Too many people died for you to be bringing that shit up. But Robert F. Kennedy,
That's a whole nother episode.
dude, get your shit together, man. And also, I challenge you to a pull-up competition. I saw your pull-ups. Those shits were pathetic.
Wait. All right, I can't help myself. How old are you and how old is he?
I don't care. I don't care.
Not factoring that in.
He just like basically like taking his shirt off with what's his face.
I have no idea who you're talking about. I
Oh
didn't
my
see this.
God, Trump's little buddy. He has a cabinet position.
Stephen Miller or something?
No, it's not. No, it's not Stephen Miller. It's the Department of Defense dude.
Oh, Pete Hegseth.
Yeah, Hegseth. Put the New York Times journalist in the group chat. Hegseth. Both these dudes. Get it together.
Okay, moving back
That
to
was
the
a hell of a
episode
tangent.
itself.
Hell of a tangent. Sorry. You can sense that I have some frustrations when it comes to certain officials perpetuating blatant lies and also trying to look like super masculine, but doing it in the douchiest way possible. So then you look like an idiot.
So
Vaccinate your children.
we're going to ask you, our listeners, to let us know what your thoughts on school
No,
shootings are.
Vaccinate your children.
Tell us what you think would help solve these issues.
Yes, and be kind to Myrene. She means well.
Be kind to John.
Yeah, I don't care about the type of people who are going to be upset that I'm saying that we should limit access to specific types of firearms, because that's what clearly works in other countries, or expanding access to healthcare and things like that. I mean, if we don't agree on that, we're probably not going to agree on much. But I still love you, and I still want the best for you, and I still want America to thrive and prosper and to be around for the next 5,000 years.
Well, I can't help but point out this one thing. It's a statistic that you said 75% of the school shootings were done with handguns. So
Yep.
It's not those assault rifles that we need to be looking at. It's the other stuff too.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with the suggestion I made. I might have made it off air. If someone commits a shooting with a gun that you own, guillotine
For the gun owner
in public.
or the shooter?
Both.
Well, a lot of the shooters have been taking their own
I was
lives.
just going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but if you live, guillotine. And if it was your gun, guillotine. Keep that thing locked up.
You're going to need a amendment to the Constitution for that.
A guillotine amendment.
Yeah,
Write it up.
John's amendment.
Dude, I mean, just lock your guns up, for the love of God.
Make them safe.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, we'll figure this out. Someone from the legislature will listen to this episode, or I'll go bother them. I need a client in this space, and then I can really go at it with all my heart.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll
Channel your energy.
we'll work on it. If anybody's looking for a lobbyist in the state of Michigan to address, well, actually, I think we do have I think our firm does have a client that works in this space already. I'm not on that account.
See?
Man, a lot of tangents in this one towards the end.
So circling back.
Wrap it up.
If you have any questions, reach out to us. BTV_pod, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, especially TikTok. We're happy to answer any of your questions. Let us know where we messed up. Let us know where we can do better. Let us know what cases or what topics you want us to address.
Let us know what your thoughts are, how we're doing too. We want to know that. Give us the ratings. That always helps us move on to the next episode.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.